Centaur, your kind of company.
Tonight on CTV3 News, tentative date set for the commencement of the 2022-2023 crop season. BSCFA and Bayside ASR remain at impasse over signing of new commercial agreement. By narrow majority, UDP National Party Council overruled special committee decision. John Saldivar is back in Belmopan race. And the Making Christmas Magic team shares the joy of the season. These are some of the stories we have for you tonight in our newscast for Monday, December 19th, 2022.
Ever since I was a kid, I've dreamt of going to Mars. You can keep my dream alive.
Come with me. You cannot, under any circumstances, leave my room, okay? Only for 35 days.
Enjoy your favorite HBO original series and movies with
Centaur, your kind of company.
Everyone, including our elderly, needs to stay connected with their loved ones. With Smart's Golden Citizen broadband program, senior citizens can sign up for 10 megabytes of unlimited internet at a low monthly cost of $25. Citizens over 65 can sign up with a valid ID and receive free installation plus 1 month free on selected broadband plans. Visit a Smart showroom near you for more information on how you can enjoy Smart's Golden Citizen broadband program. Smart, bringing people together.
Good evening with your news, also simulcast on Fiesta FM 106.7. I am Joanna Rodriguez. A tentative date for the commencement of the 2022-2023 crop season has been set by the Sugar Industry Control Board. The chairman of the SICB, Marcos Osorio, sent a notice on Saturday evening stating that an emergency SICB meeting was held on December 17, 2022 at 2 p.m. The result of that meeting is that the board has passed a resolution that the 2022-2023 crop start date is December 27, 2022, with the proviso that BSI and BSCFA sign a commercial agreement. This means that if the impasse remains between the Belize Sugarcane Farmers Association and the BSI-ASR, history will repeat itself and crop will be delayed. Today, Prime Minister John Briceño was questioned about the pressing issue. He told the media if needs be, government will meet with both sides.
Both sides have said that they're prepared to proceed with the with that until, even if they have to go into tomorrow, Sunday, and hoping that they can come up with something. The idea is that they can come with an agreement, but if that were not to happen, then we're hoping that then we can have BSI roll over that agreement so they could continue in the whole agreement once the mediation / negotiations go through, or we may have as a government in consultation with the association and with BSI to maybe to come up with some other mechanism that can bring some kind of finality to this, to have an agreement that would be fair to everyone, fair to the farmers and also fair to BSI.
So if things get out of hand like they did last crop season, do you see the government maybe intervening despite it being a private?
Well, the problem with intervening is that if we were to rule in favor of the farmers, BSI will take us to court. If we rule in favor of, do something in favor of BSI, the farmers are going to take us to court. So the government has to be very careful.
Both sides met on Friday, but there was no breakthrough despite the intervention of mediator Julianne Ellis Bradley. What is happening behind closed doors is unknown, as both sides are unable to comment because of the nature of the process. What we do know, though, is that as announced last week, BSI-ASR was ready to accept cane starting today, December 19, 2022, while at least two of the other associations were ready to start delivery today. According to Prime Minister John Briceño, the hope is that there will be an agreement before the tentative starting crop date, and if not, another route will be looked at.
I am hoping that we do not have a repeat of what happened last year, December. And we've already spoken to the police. If they, for one reason or the other, the farmers feel that they need to go on protest, that is their right. All we're asking them is not to damage property and to allow the other farmers to be able to deliver. And so that's all we can ask. We can ask for better minds or calmer minds to prevail.
Of note is that the body responsible for officially declaring the start of the season is the Sugar Industry Control Board, SICB. By a narrow margin of 42-40, John Saldivar won Saturday's vote at the UDP National Party Council to be a candidate in the Belmopan constituency. Thus, the December 2nd decision of the special committee to disallow his candidacy is overruled, and he can contest the Belmopan convention on February 5th. But the decision of the NPC is already stirring controversy within the party. Elmer Cornejo reports.
One man who has been having a hard time convincing the wider public here in Belize and abroad of being transparent is the disgraced UDP's John Saldivar from Belmopan. His name has been called in the infamous Lev Terman scandal, and he has even been blackmarked for surrounding himself with Danny Mason, the man accused of killing Pastor Lawadin Lewis. Of most recent, though, his name has been hitting the news like the top track on any famous playlist, when the USA came down hard on him and his entire family. The State Department designated John Saldivar and ended his visa and that of his entire family as well, after they accused him of being a corrupt politician during his tenure as a Minister of Government. As per the State Department, John Saldivar even used a gifted police Coast Guard vessel to take Lev Dermin and others on a trip to Hunting Key in the Sapadilla Range. From same Lev Dermin, Saldivar has accepted to have received large quantities of money as political donations, $50,000 in US currency to be exact. For his part, the disgraced minister is claiming innocence, but that did not stop the special committee formed by leader of the opposition Shine Barrow to review the allegations made against Saldivar to ban him from running in a Standard Bearer convention for the UDP in Belmopan after a narrow vote. The committee did so without any evidence provided by the US.
No matter what you do, there will be a process. The other process would have been, the other reaction could have been, well, you have an NPC vote to remove a person from running or contesting an election simply because another country designated him. What are we? Are we a mass party in a sovereign nation, or do we jump when some foreign entity jumps? That could be an argument too if you don't allow him to run. Some would say, how can we react to a government that designates someone here in Belize when they have a person who was a former president, did not accept their election, led a coup on January 6th. His organization has been found guilty of criminal fraud, and yet he will still be allowed to run and contest for the Republican convention for the next general election in the US. You have Mr. Bankman, who was arrested in Bahamas, about to be extradited. He gave $40 million to the political machine in the United States. Are those people who we gave money to, will they be designated? Will they be allowed to run? Absolutely, they will be allowed to run. We have King Charles, who, before he became king, accepted £1 million from Osama bin Laden's brothers. And he's not designated. He was allowed to be king. So I think the purpose of the NPC decision was to say, look, let the people of Belmopan decide.
Not willing to go silently into the night, Saldivar took his case to the National Party Council, which convened on Saturday to review the special committee's decision. In that session, the NPC, formed by majority of the Caucus for Change membership led by Saldivar, overruled the special committee's decision.
I don't know what was in the minds of the people who voted to keep Mr. Saldivar, or for those who voted to say he should not run. I mean, that's their own deliberation. All I can say is that we didn't receive any further details from the United States. No further details that we received. So since the day of the designation, we are none the wiser since that time in terms of details coming from the US as to what formed the basis of their designation.
By a narrow margin of 42 to 40, John Saldivar won his appeal and he can now contest the Belmopan Convention on February 5.
I know the numbers, but what's the purpose of that? It was carried. The NPC said that Mr. Saldivar can run. He can run. Let him put his name, let him leave his name as a possible Belmopan candidate for the UDP in the next general election. I believe Mr. Khalid Belair, as you all already should know, he withdrew his candidacy. So when the Belmopan convention is called, then the people of Belmopan will determine whether or not they want Mr. Saldivar or Mr. Torres. Votes tend to be very close. I mean, we had a recent election in the US where Senator Warnock beat Herschel Walker by a very small margin, but he's still the senator. We've had votes in this country where era reps lose by 1 vote, but they still lose. I mean, elections tend to be close. That's how they are.
But while Saldivar's reaction over Facebook has been one of "God is good all the time, justice prevailed," unquote, Vice Chairman of the UDP Alberto August wrote on Facebook that his heart weeps for the UDP. This leaves the chairman of the UDP with a divided party.
I don't know who has said, nobody has told me, and I haven't heard anybody say, well, they don't want to be a part of the UDP because of this decision. I mean, that's like saying you don't want to be a part of the UDP because the UDP followed its constitution. I mean, that's a strange position to take. I would think that you would be proud to follow a party that has a process and follow that process. I mean, you cannot choose to not be a part of something simply because you don't like the result of that process.
Saldivar's fate within the UDP now lies in the hands of the people of Belmopan.
Time will tell. That is up to the people of Belmopan. And that is up to the people of Belize for them to make that decision. That's not up to a designation by the U.S.
Elmer Cornejo, CTV3 News.
While John Saldivar is back in the race for the Standard Bearer Convention for the UDP in Belmopan after he won the National Party Council's vote by the skin of his teeth, not all members of the UDP are happy with the decision, including former UDP party leader Patrick Faber, who was kicked out of the race in Colette and also from the NPC's meeting on Saturday. Honorable Tracy Tager-Panton also opined that the meeting was not collegial. Lee Mark claims he has to go to his chairlady to share a screen with her to get in the NPC's meeting. Today, the chairman of the party was questioned about the legitimacy of the meeting.
Was there misconduct or less than inclusive and optimal behavior in the management of that Zoom NPC meeting?
No.
What do you make of the allegations by Mr. Faber that
they did like the wrong one?
He shared the screenshot. What do you make of the allegations of Ms. Tracy Tager-Panton that her secretary and chairman were not allowed in?
They tend to make allegations every single day. And, after a while, you just simply don't have time to allow all of them to entertain all of them. There was nothing wrong with the meeting. A vote was taken, and the majority carries, as with all votes.
But we saw the screenshot where Mr. Faber was kicked out. I know that he had a week of attacking you and other leaders of the UDP, but it still shows that he has, that as a member of the National Assembly, he should have a seat on the NPC.
Like I said, the meeting was carried, the decision was made, and we move on.
Yeah, but you aren't addressing the concrete allegations of misconduct in the management of the meeting.
Well, you see, Jules, you hear about court, then they hire lawyers, then the whole press conference with prominent attorneys in the middle explaining violations of the Constitution. I have to keep my words to myself in the event we end up in court. So if they believe that something so egregious happened, if they believe that people were prevented from voting, and they believe all of that, then I have to be prepared for a matter to be taken to the court. So I want to keep that until that happens.
According to chairman of the UDP, Michael Perifeet, he abstained from voting in the NPC meeting on Saturday. Here is why.
I don't have to tell you because that's my franchise, that's my voting franchise. But I will tell you because I know you will want to spin it in a certain way. I believe that as a person on the special committee, maybe I was entrapped by my legal mind. I was a part of a body, the special committee, that made a decision. I don't think that I should have voted as a member of a higher body to decide whether or not to reverse or accept that decision. I don't believe that if I'm a Supreme Court judge and I make a decision, then that matter goes to appeal. I'm one of the judges of appeal that will decide whether or not my decision was correct or wrong. So I just thought that I should not have voted in that circumstance.
The NPC's decision is final and binding. The minimum wage increase is set for January 1st. That has been confirmed and reconfirmed by Prime Minister John Briceño. With consultations completed and a final report entitled The Plan for the Gradual Implementation of the $5 Minimum Wage submitted on January 1st, New Year's Day, the new minimum wage will come into effect.
I know that there are some concerns in some of the industries, especially in agriculture. But in agriculture, a lot of the work is done based on the local piecework. How much cane you cut, how much bananas you pull, how much oranges you pull. So that where if you are skilled at what you're doing, you could be able to collect even more than $5 an hour. So that is where I think we may need to do some slight adjustments, but the idea is to implement the $5 an hour minimum wage on the 1st of January.
And then I know the NTUCB is also asking for maybe a formula approach. Is that something you guys are looking at?
Well, at the time we have to take it step by step. I mean, remember we are still in austerity, but we believe that at the very least, at the minimum wage, you're touching the lives of at the bottom. We have about 30,000 people that have been working under the minimum wage. So we need to find a way how we could uplift that 30,000, and then we could look after the rest, including the public service. Once the finances have been settled and we believe that we're in a stronger position, then we could take a look at that.
Concerns about possible layoffs and raising of prices of goods and services by businesses to meet the additional salary expense have been raised by the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry, BCCI. The BCCI has stated that it supports the increase in the minimum wage, but has suggested a phased approach to the increase in order to give businesses time to prepare for and possibly avert any financial fallout. But despite these concerns, the minimum wage must be increased, says Briseno.
The possibility exists, but if your business has been growing, and most businesses have been growing over the past 2 years, they will need people. So it will be difficult for them to justify letting go someone. And nobody would let go a person who is a good worker. You know, you let go those that don't work properly. So we believe that I don't foresee that being or becoming a big problem.
Coming up next, Prime Minister John Briseno speaks on redistricting case. Stay tuned.
LG dual inverter compressor cools air faster by operating at speeds as high as 120 Hz with more stability compared to conventional models. It also saves up to 70% more energy by operating at speeds as low as 10 Hz with more stability. It reduces torque vibration down to 40% for quiet outdoor unit operation. Stable operation with low vibrations also results in increased durability.
Everyone, including our elderly, needs to stay connected with their loved ones. With Smart's Golden Citizen broadband program, senior citizens can sign up for 10 megabytes of unlimited internet at a low monthly cost of $25. Citizens over 65 can sign up with a valid ID and receive free installation plus 1 month free on selected broadband plans. Visit a Smart showroom near you for more information on how you can enjoy Smart's Golden Citizen broadband program. Smart, bringing people together.
Belize's electoral map will look a lot different by next July when the Elections and Boundaries Commission, EBC, by court order, will have decided the new electoral boundaries to be fought in the next general election. As previously mentioned, the Supreme Court brokered a consent order between multiple petitioners loosely grouped together as the Belize Peace Movement and the Elections and Boundaries Commission, EBC, binding them to conduct a full redistricting process and present the results by July of 2023. The claimants have agreed with the defendants, the Elections and Boundaries Commission, represented by its chairman and the Attorney General with Lord Michael Ashcroft as an interested party, that the parties acknowledge that given the current distribution of registered voters in Belize, it is necessary for the Elections and Boundaries Commission to consider the distribution of voters and make recommendations for the amendment of the first schedule to the Representation of the People Act to redefine current electoral boundaries. 2. That the Elections and Boundaries Commission shall identify and explain in a written report its recommendations and all proposals considered necessary for redistricting as provided by the Belize Constitution generally and Section 90 of the Belize Constitution in particular, and shall share the report with the claimants on the date the report is laid before the National Assembly or the 17th of July 2023, whichever is earlier, or such other extended date as agreed between the parties. 3. That the first defendant, the chairman of the commission, shall cause the preparation of a draft bill pursuant to Section 90 of the Belize Constitution to amend the first schedule of the Representation of the People Act to reflect the recommendations of the Elections and Boundaries Commission as made in its said report, and the Elections and Boundaries Commission shall lay the proposals before the National Assembly before July 31st, 2023. 4. That the parties agreed that in this process, the defendants shall consult the guidelines set out in the court's expert report of Sean P. Trend dated October 14, 2020, and 5. That the defendants shall bear the reasonable cost of the claimants to be taxed if not agreed. Today, Prime Minister John Briceño elaborated a bit more about how the process will be carried out and its transparency.
This is an exercise that is handled by the Elections and Boundaries Commission. The Elections and Boundaries Commission has set up a small team of technical people, including a statistician, having someone from that has training in land, and also other people, and they are the ones that are going to come up with a number of recommendations, whether we need to expand more. If we need to expand into more constituencies, or we're going to keep the same 31 constituencies, they will make that recommendation to the Elections and Boundaries Commission. Once that recommendation is made, then that goes to the National Assembly for acceptance or not.
Okay, so there are concerns regarding the task force. People are fearful that it may be politicized due to the PUP senator that's on the task force. Your thoughts on that?
I don't think that is a fair assessment, simply because, first of all, he's only one. Secondly, he's there just to recommend. Thirdly, he is there because then he can help to be able to put together the groups that they have to meet and try to get the necessary information for them, because we want to move this quickly. I am hoping that by the end of next year, we're supposed to be finished with something that they can present to the Elections and Boundaries Commission and also to the National Assembly. Senator Monteo is not there to be able to try to politicize the issue. He's there to be able to assist with the rest of the people.
In the weeks leading up to Christmas, many are those who organize children parties, so much so that Santa Claus is on high demand. With COVID restrictions out of the way, children from all across Orange Walk Town are receiving a special visit from the man with the red suit. That was the case today for children of Sylvester Street.
Have you ever asked yourself, what is the true meaning of Christmas? While for some it's all about the decorations, food and good times, for others it's about giving and putting a smile on someone's face. For Vanessa Carrasco and her team, making Christmas magic, the true meaning of Christmas can be found in the latter. Today she put together a special party to celebrate Christmas with the needy children of her beloved Orange Walk. This year would have been the 7th Christmas party for the organizer, but due to the COVID pandemic, it had to go on hold for 2 years until today.
This is the 5th year that we're actually hosting this event. We call ourselves Making Christmas Magic. And it was actually going to be the 7th, but due to COVID, we're on pause for 2 years for not being able to have social gatherings. But we still try to give out throughout those 2 years. So how we go about organizing these events is that we issue invitations to the schools, and the principal, along with the help of the teachers, they would identify the kids that deserve this little extra, right? So we do 50 invitations, 30 boys, 60, 30 boys and 30 girls. And that's how we go about picking the children that will participate.
Anybody else join in with you?
Yes, actually this is a family event that we host. It's Miss Sharon's daughters and myself and my mother-in-law, Miss Sandra. You know, we come about 7 years ago. We said, you know, when we think about Christmas, we think about sharing and giving, and not only you think about gifts, but you also think about sharing love, you know, sharing experiences and seeing these kids having fun. It puts a smile to your heart, right? You can say that there's something that you can give to them and make their Christmas a little bit better. We have kids of our own, and whenever we see these kids, the way they carry themselves as cousins, brothers, sisters, you know, it puts a smile to your face, and we say, well, when we have a bigger crowd, it's even better, because then we say, well, you know, give them a little gift, give them their food, their snacks, their goodies bag. You know, they believe in Santa, the magic of Santa. When they see Santa, you know, that puts a big smile to their faces, running to hug Santa. So, you know, that warms our hearts and that keeps us pushing for another year.
This year around, Carrasco had additional assistance from students attending Muffles High School.
I love watching the kids play around, and I get to see them enjoy receiving gifts and playing games and spending time with each other. And coming from Muffles, I learned about mercy and that it's good to give to those in need.
At Muffles, we have to do 20 hours of community service each year, and I wanted to do my community service during Christmas time because I really love Christmas, and it's really nice to give back to the children in need here in town.
As for the children, they were merry all afternoon long as they played various games with Old Saint Nick. Stephanie, you won the prize. How did you do that?
Good.
What did you do to jump up so high and take out all the balls from your box?
Good.
Did you know the game? Where did you learn?
Huh?
Where did you learn the game?
I learned it from park.
Oh yeah, and what did you win?
Huh?
What did you win?
I think a puzzle thing.
Are you happy to be here today? Why? Is it your first Christmas party? Yeah? Okay. Devin, what did you do to win your prize? Did you know to play the game?
Yes.
And where did you learn to play the game?
This week.
Are you happy to be here?
Yes.
What do you want to say to the children around you?
Merry Christmas. Yes. Merry Christmas.
Manuel, how did you learn to play your game?
I didn't know how to play it.
So you just came up and you wanted to win a prize?
Just fast and money.
And you were the fastest though?
Yeah.
What did you win?
I am checkers.
You win a checker?
I mean a chess.
And are you happy to be here?
Yes.
What did you like about today's party?
The food.
Huh?
The food.
The food? Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you want to say to Santa?
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year's.
Elmer Cornejo, CTV3 News.
The Guatemalan Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in response to Belize's submission of Honduras's claim to the Sapo de la Keys to the International Court of Justice for adjudication, issued a strongly worded press release this week that described the move, which the government of Belize believed is necessary to ensure that the ICJ can issue a complete and decisive ruling, as deplorable. As consistent in the wording of that press release was also what some Belizeans have interpreted to be a veiled threat, a pledge by the Guatemalan government to act in its best interest. They are claiming that the application was deliberately submitted just days before the December 8, 2022 deadline for the submission of their final reply in the Guatemalan claim brought against Belize. Notably, Belize's counter memorial was submitted to the ICJ in early June of this year, within the timeline set out by the court for the review of Guatemala's claim. Guatemala, as just mentioned, was scheduled to submit its reply on December 8, 2022, and Belize's rejoinder would then have been submitted on June 8, 2023. On June 24th of this year, time limits were fixed by the ICJ for the submission of Guatemala's reply and Belize's rejoinder, the last written submission expected to be handed to the justices of the ICJ before oral hearings. The Guatemalan Foreign Affairs Ministry claims that their reply to the counter memorial submitted by Belize in a few days would constitute the last procedural act in the written phase of the process on their part, suggesting that Belize's late inclusion of Honduras's claim in the adjudication process somehow blindsided them. It could be said, however, that Honduras's claim and its relevance to the ICJ adjudication of the Guatemalan claim was an unresolved matter that was hidden in plain sight. Since 1982, Honduras has maintained a claim to the Sapo de la Key Range, a cluster of islands located about 40 miles offshore of Punta Gorda in the Toledo district that is said to be home to the most concentrated area of beaches in all of Belize, in Article 10 of its constitution. Today, PM Briceño spoke about Guatemala's reaction.
I am not surprised that Guatemala would take that position. They have to say something so that they could show to their citizens, well, you know, we protect. But we have to do what we need to do to be able to protect our interests. We all know that Honduras have zero chances of winning the Sapo de la Keys. They changed their constitution when they heard that we were going to get independence to be able to include the Sapo de la Keys. There are records over decades that whenever they want to have access to the Sapo de la Keys, they would write the British asking them permission. So in effect, you are accepting that the British had ownership to these lands. When they want to use them, they would write to the present government, to the government of Belize, if they could have access. So they have admitted that they have. Now that we're settling at the ICJ with Guatemala, and it was brought to attention now that Honduras wants to do something about that, then we had to take proactive measures, proactive action to ensure that we could try to see how we could address that matter, also almost in conjunction with the case against Guatemala.
Former world champion figure skater and the new U.S. ambassador to Belize, Her Excellency Michelle Kwan, has indicated her enthusiasm for her new role after officially delivering her letters of credence to Governor General Her Excellency Dame Froila Zalam. Ambassador Kwan was appointed by President Joe Biden early this year, an appointment that was confirmed by the U.S. Senate back in September, and on October 10, she was officially sworn in to be the new U.S. ambassador to Belize, the first since departure of Carlos Moreno. Kwan is the most decorated figure skater in U.S. history, having won over 43 championships, including 5 world championships and 2 Olympic medals. Since 2006, she has served the U.S. as a public diplomacy ambassador, traveling widely as an envoy working with youth and athletes. In December 2012, she was appointed as a U.S. State Department Senior Advisor for Public Diplomacy and Public Affairs. And today, Prime Minister John Briceño had nothing but praises for the ambassador.
Ambassador Kwan, she is such a lovely person. She's full of charisma, and she has a level of humility, despite the fact that she has been an Olympic and world champion when it comes to figure skating. A lady that has been all over the world, and now that she is in Belize, and you feel the humility and the sincerity of her wanting to work with the government, wanting to work with the citizens of this country. I am so pleased. I don't think that President Biden could have chosen a better representative to come to Belize. I want to welcome her to Belize, and as I told her, Belizeans, we are open, we are welcoming, we are warm by nature, and she says she's already seeing that. And of course, then she's enjoying the food that we have. And of course, she says she has a long list of family members and friends that want to come to Belize to visit. So I am so pleased with the choice, and I have every confidence that we will be able to work very closely together.
And that's the news. We invite you to join us for another newscast on Tuesday, December 28th here on CTV3 and Fiesta FM 106.7. Remember that to read a text version of the news, you can visit our website at ctv3belizenews.com. You can also log on to our Facebook page for current stories at facebook.com/ctv3belizenews or our YouTube channel at CTV3 News BZ. Remember to wash your hands and remain safe. From all of us here at CTV3 News, thank you for watching and listening. Good night.